welcome to the Professor Knits podcast. I am Nikki, I am your host, and I like to chat about knitting and spinning and dyeing yarn. So thank you for joining me. I am the Professor Knits _ Medusa yarn on Ravelry, and I also have a website called medusayarn.com, so go and check me out. I'm on Ravelry, of course, as Medusa Yarn, and so feel free to join me over there, and we can be friends over there as well. So thanks for tuning in. I am pretty excited to sit down and podcast today, although I don't know how successful I will be because of the munchkins running around my house, insisting on making lots of noise. So I'll do my best. That's why I have my microphone on today, hoping that one of my munchkins is right next to me playing because she got a new toy in the mail today. And so she's pretty adamant that she's going to play while I podcast. Who am I to argue? So yeah, I think today is, yes, I know today is June 25th, what I lovingly refer to as Blur's Day. And the only reason I know the date today is because a knit-along started today that I'll talk about. But yesterday I had to ask my husband what day of the week it was. Like, I had no idea. It's like every day is Blur's Day. So I hope you're all doing well, but just to give you a little bit of point of reference of what time it is in my world, that doesn't mean this video will get posted today or tomorrow, but hopefully it will be. All right, so I have to introduce you all to somebody. This is whom I lovingly refer to as Drunk Zelda. Now, she's my decorative dress form, and she's kind of lopsided because she's made of very cheap particle board, and some of the screws got stripped, and so she's tipping over. And my husband said that he would fix it for me, even though I could probably do it myself. I have a very handy husband. He's a musician and a composer, but he's also really, really handy, which means nothing gets done that needs to get done, because he won't call somebody to come and do the work because he knows he can do it himself. Not that I would call somebody to do this, but you get my point. So nothing ever gets done around our house because he's really handy and wants to do it all himself. So I think I'm just going to have to fix Drunk Zelda. So I call her Drunk because she's always tipping over. And I call her Zelda because our house is full of Zelda right now. My husband bought the Nintendo Switch for him and our son, Oscar, to play. And it's Legends of Zelda everywhere. That's all they're playing these days. It's weird not to have Minecraft references happening all the time. It's just Zelda, Zelda, Zelda. So this is Drunk Zelda. Now, like I said, Drunk Zelda is a decorative dress form, so she's much skinnier and smaller and petite than me. My sewing dress form is my shape. So what she is wearing is my finished object, and so it looks much looser on her than it does on me. But this is my finished object for the week, and let me kind of pick her up so you can see. And I'm really, really happy that this is done. First of all, the pattern is the sleeveless Vivian Pullover by Jennifer Wood of Woodhouse Knits. She's a local Knoxville designer. I'm in Knoxville, East Tennessee. And I really enjoyed knitting this pattern, but let me tell you, I'm happy it's done. First of all, it's gorgeous. It's got the swoop neck, sleeveless, but not a tank top, and then all the stockinette stitch, and then down here, 1x1 ribbing that has a very slight pattern in it, and then all the way at the bottom, about 35 rows or so of a nice lace panel, and this panel is also on the back, but just one piece of it. So a nice detail on the back. But all the way around and all this ribbing is other, it's not just 1x1. There's a very subtle texture to it. Now, as much as I loved knitting and like wearing this shirt, It was tough to finish because of the 1x1 ribbing. I mean, at the end of the day, there's almost 9 inches of 1x1 ribbing. And I've made it a little too long. Had I thought about it, I should have probably stopped the stockinette stitch about an inch or so, maybe 2 inches higher, and it would have made the whole thing a little bit shorter. But I like it the way it is, and I'll insert some pictures because it's kind of tunicky. I can wear it with a pair of leggings without feeling self-conscious about my thighs or my behind, right? It covers everything nicely. So a few things about the construction of this. First of all, it's got a very big open arm. So if you decide you want to knit this, which I highly recommend, be forewarned. So when I wear this, I need to either have a really pretty bra on or a matching camisole that doesn't take away from the scoop neck. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And it's stated in the pattern, like it tells you in the pattern that it's got a very long open armhole. And I think what I liked a lot about this is the construction of the top. You knit the back, and I'll just turn drunk Zelda, hopefully she doesn't fall over, around. You knit the back, and it's got this really nice detailed seed stitch up here, and there's short row shaping, and then you knit down, and then what happens is instead of knitting it in 2 pieces, you pick up and knit stitches along one of the shoulders, and then work on this, and you sort of attach them, pick up and knit on the shoulders, and then you work this beautiful shawl drapey cowl neck, and then when you're done, you join and you knit in a round. So there's no seaming, which I really liked. It's gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. I love it, but I wouldn't knit it again. I would knit it again in maybe a different color, but I would probably shorten this part. For me, I'm kind of short-waisted to begin with, and I might tighten up the sleeves a little bit. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I love it. The yarn is Shibui Knits in their Staccato, which is a 70% superwash merino, 30% silk. Beautiful color, beautiful yarn. The color is called Blueprint. Now, I have to say, she's playing with her unicorn. I have to say, if you're wondering about this setup, I'm in a new location. I'm in my dining room and sitting on my piano bench in front of our piano. And I am using a dress form, as you've noticed. And I got this idea when I've been watching a new podcaster. Her name is Shanti Knits. Her name is Chantal. That's hard for me to say because I grew up with a girl named Chantal, spelled the same way, but we pronounced it Chantal. Although she was French, but in English we said Chantal. So Chantal, who's Shanti D Knits, and she's a new podcaster. She just started in January, and I really, really like her podcast. She's a fantastic knitter, and this is what she does. She shows it on a dress form, and then she inserts photos of her wearing it. And I texted her because we're Instagram besties now. And I didn't text her, I Instagrammed her and said, I think I'm going to use this if you don't mind, because I just feel like it's so much easier than wearing it and like trying to stand up and like knocking over my camera or just having these awkward positions. And so that's why everything looks a little bit different. So I could show you Drunk Zelda. Hopefully for the next podcast she's fixed and she isn't, she doesn't need me to support her before she passes out. So thank you, Chantal, for the idea and for the excellent podcast. And I really like her podcast because she is a Doctor Who geek, and so am I. I'm not as geeky about it as a lot of people like my husband. I haven't seen every single season and every single episode, but I do enjoy Doctor Who. Yeah, very good podcast, very relaxing and calming, not chaotic like mine with kids running everywhere. So go check her out. All right, so my finished object, yay! just in time for the hot, hot weather. Who wants to wear wool? But the silk makes it a little lighter. Thank you, Zelda. You can go have a drink. There, I'll let her lean up against the piano. Ooh, there, you look so pretty. Yeah. Okay, so I'm only going to show you 2 works in progress today. And one of them is a sweater. I've started knitting a sweater. So as soon as, actually before this was cast off, I started knitting another garment. But this is my 3rd time starting it. I don't know what's wrong with me. But it's the Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. And I decided I would jump on the Love Note bandwagon. Funny story, I actually got kicked out of a KAL. Funny story, I'll tell you about it in just a second. But this, you've all heard of the Love Note sweater by Tin Can Knits. So this is all I have done so far. But it's the 3rd time I've done it. For some reason, somewhere in the lace work for the leaf patterning, I make a mistake, and then I get confused because there's so many yarn overs and knit togethers and slip knits. And so twice I've tore the whole thing back, and this is my 3rd time knitting it. Now, I've got 5 rows left of the lace work, and I haven't made a mistake yet. So I've got my fingers crossed. I make sure I'm completely sober every time I knit this. I don't do any of my wine knitting on this one. I only work on it in the morning, and because I really love it. And I know the mistake is me. I'm just making silly mistakes, not paying attention. And so I should be a lot further along, but I'm not, because this is the 3rd time I've gotten this far. So it's a provisional cast on, which I love. And a lot of people are scared off by it, but it's really easy. If you can crochet a long chain, that's the way I do it. And you know how to pick up stitches, you can do it. And the reason why I like a provisional cast on so much for the neckline is because after you've put on the sweater and checked the fit, you can adjust the neck. And one thing that I have such a huge issue with knitting is not having a neck that doesn't end up way too big. This one, for example, is a little big. I'm kind of narrow in the shoulders, and so I tend to end up with a big loose neck where I don't want one, where it isn't intended. So I can't wait to be able to tailor the neck to fit me once I know everything else fits. I think I might start trying to incorporate provisional cast on into all of my top down knit and around sweaters so that I can always go back and make adjustments. Yeah, gorgeous. So the yarn is my own yarn, Medusa yarn and fiber. And I'm doing this on my Priya colorway. I mean, you should have seen the look on her face when I told her I'd buy her a new toy and we'd order it online and have it delivered. She hadn't had a new toy since the quarantine started, so I'm not going to get upset. Yeah, I think, yep. All right, so my Priya colorway, which, you know, of course, how it turns out on different bases is a little different. But this is on my Olympians base, my MCN, so 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. And it's one of my absolute favorite bases to knit with. And it's kind of a salmony, no, not coppery, a salmony brown, pinky salmony brown. I wouldn't go so far as to say a rose gold. I would be a little bit tempted, but I wouldn't. And then I dyed up a matching in a slightly lighter shade, matching mohair and silk. This is a new base I'm carrying now, but it's only available in kits, sweater kits right now. Anyway, I love the two colors together, And what I like about dyeing up these mohair silk blends is that the thread that runs through, because you've got the thread that runs through and then you've got all the puffy fibers hanging off of it that give you that fuzzy halo effect. And what I like is that the string of yarn holding it together dyes up differently from the fuzzy fibers. And so what's happening, it's kind of a brighter shade, and what's happening is that it's causing this Priya colorway to kind of shine really brightly. So I'm gonna love it. It's so fuzzy, it's got such a beautiful halo effect. And this is one of my favorite colorways. So Priya, on regular sock yarn, it looks a little browner and less pink, but I just absolutely love it. And I've got the set, and here I'll show it to you skeined up, okay? So Priya, and I do have some sweater sets available at medusayarn.com, and I reached out to Emily of Tin Can Knits and asked permission to sell sweater sets for Love Note. And she very graciously said, yes, of course. Of course, I'm not selling the pattern. You have to buy the pattern separately. But if you're interested in a sweater kit, hop on over. And I've got a few in several different colors, all in luxury bases, because this is a luxurious pattern. So my funny story about getting kicked out of a KAL. I follow so many people on Instagram. And one day I was scrolling through and I saw that Do You Knit, I think it's the yarn store in New Jersey, they posted something about a Love Note KAL. And I got excited because I was like, well, I'm casting on a Love Note, and it was going to be for June. I'm like, I'm joining. So I balled up my yarn. I cast it on, and then I started posting on their hashtags about my yarn, like this is Medusa yarn, I'm doing this, like I'm joining. I wasn't trying to sell my yarn or advertise my yarn. I just said, oh, I'm knitting with Medusa yarn. And I got kicked off because it was a KAL for Big Sky Fibers. It was only allowed, you could only enter and use the hashtags if you were using the yarn that they had commissioned for the KAL. So yeah, I got kicked out of the Ravelry group, and the owner of the shop, I don't know her name, Jen, I can't remember. She's got the short hair. She very politely asked me to stop using the hashtags, and she was very kind about it. She explained why, but she was firm about it as well. Please stop using our hashtags. Oh well. Hey, I've gotten kicked out of bars. I've got kicked out of, have I ever gotten kicked out of a restaurant? I don't think so. I've gotten kicked out of several bars. I've never been kicked out of an airplane, thank goodness, or off an airplane. So yeah, I've been kicked out of a KAL, everybody. I'm a wild child. I'm a naughty bad girl. But like I said, they were kind about it. They were polite. So, Love Note. The Love Note sweater, knit in Medusa yarn. Okay, so my other work in progress, I just cast on this morning because the pattern was released for the A Curious Handmade Mystery KAL. So it's a mystery knit along. And this is the second mystery knit along I've done by Helen Stewart because she is the best shawl designer and I trust her no matter what, right? Like I just know that she's gonna come up with something classy and elegant, maybe playful, maybe, you know, like I just trust her implicitly. So I have no problem using my precious yarn in a mystery knit along with her. So it's called the Stillness MKAL, and she's another very, very gracious designer who I reached out to and said, look, I'm dyeing up yarn for this for myself, and I'm doing all sorts of different color combinations, after I choose what I'm going to knit, can I sell the other ones on my website as a Stillness MKAL kit? She very kindly said yes. So I've got, I dyed up 5 or 6 different options, all vastly different from each other. And I had boiled it down to this one, which is a beautiful, sorry if it's getting blown out. We're getting weird lighting in here from, I think, a thunderstorm brewing. And none of these really have names because I dyed them up as kits. So individually they don't have names yet. Although this is a spin-off Calliope. Calliope is a colorway I have that's just a soft buttery yellow. But I've speckled this with some browns and purples, very, very faint speckling, to go with a dark purple and then sort of a bridge colorway that has hints of all the colors in there. It's got some greens, some pinks, some purples, so they go beautifully together. So I was just about, and this was the most recent one I dyed up. I just dyed it up a couple of days ago. And I was just about to ball it up, and then I changed my mind at the last minute and decided subtler, calmer color combination, more of a subtle, low contrast color combination. Okay. So I'll put up a picture of what they look like skeined up because they look so different as skeins than they do as balls. And again, these were dyed up as a kit specifically for this, so they don't have individual names. So here's just a very nice silvery gray. Then the same gray with mauve, and it's a very blue gray. And then I've got some mauve contrasts, low contrast. And then this one has, it's the base of the gray, it's got some mauve, and then it's got some dark navy and almost a dark purpley navy with some pops of a sapphire blue speckled throughout. So I decided that this had more of a Helen Stewart feel, and because hers are always so soft and subtle. So spoiler alert, I'm about to show you the first 50 rows or so that came out in Clue 1 today. So if you don't want to see it, look away. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, it's going to be, I think, an asymmetrical shawl, I think. But that's what I've started out with. So you can see the beautiful gray and then the other two contrast colors. And that's what I like about her mystery knit along, is that she doesn't make you wait too long before you've used all 3 colors, so that if they're not playing well together, it's not much work to tear back and add a different color or change your yarn, right? It's not like you've committed hours and hours and hours of work. This is just maybe an hour's worth of work. So it's really beautiful. I'm loving it so far. I love everything she does. And I'm really pleased with the way the colors are playing together. And because this is also on my Olympians base, my MCN, merino, cashmere, nylon, it's so luxurious and soft and beautiful. But I might still have to cast this one on and do 2, because this is just such an awesome color combination. High contrast, really striking, which I really, really like as well. Unless you buy it. If somebody wants it, it's available on my website. This is on my Trojans base, which is a 80-20 superwash merino nylon blend. So more of a socky type yarn, won't pill, it'll be good. It's good for a shawl. So everything that's up there right now is the only, in my shawl kits, that's the only one. So if you want it, grab it. This one is also available on a couple of other bases. I decided when I decided that this would be the one, I dyed up some more on some other bases. just in case anybody saw what I was doing and wanted this particular color combination. And I'll see, I might dye up more of these other ones because all of them that I dyed up, I want a shawl in them. So I'll work my way through them, but go ahead and snag them off the website if you want to beat me to it. Yeah, Helen Stewart, Curious Handmade. All right, I'm going to sign off. I'm coming up to almost 30 minutes, and I like to keep my podcasts fairly short. 1 second, sweetheart. Okay, change your shirt then. You don't have to keep wearing it. You don't have to wear it. Yes, you can have a snack. See, it's time. It's time for me to let you go. It's time to say goodbye. She cannot handle not having my undivided attention. All right, so have a happy knitting day, and we'll see you again soon. I'll be sure to let you guys see the clues as they come out for the Helen Stewart Stillness Knit Along. Take care.